I just finished writing a book about Nico from the Velvet Underground. And one of the things that really struck me when I was reading it is how things have not really changed in a lot of ways in the music business. Like on the outside, maybe a little bit, but not really in terms of who has the power. And I know in 2012, Faith, you said that you wanted to form an all-female band, but you had trouble finding other women to play with. Do you think the landscape has changed in the last 8 years in terms of opportunity and diversity for female musicians?
I think there's definitely a lot more bands that are either all female or have got females in them. And there's a lot more female front women coming through. But as for the opportunities, I still feel that we're probably on the back foot to guys. You know, that's just my honest opinion. I don't know if you two agree with that.
Yeah, like Liz, what do you think?
Yeah, I still feel like sometimes you get offered support slots or like lower down the bill than you would be if you were not necessarily an all-male band, but yeah, I think sometimes it's sort of like a given that you'll just be supporting. Or
So is that a question you get asked pretty much every single interview?
We have been asked it a lot. With Pins, I think we just speak with our actions, as in do the band and, you know, hopefully if there are younger girls at the shows or whatever and think, oh, actually, I'd like to do that as well, that's the positive thing I think we'd like to bring to it. But I think I'd agree with Faith, definitely. I think there's a lot more visibility for women in music these days, definitely, and it's a lot more to the fore. But other than that, it seems quite similar.
It can still feel like a novelty. And that people do like, you know, an all-female night at a club or something like that, rather than it just being on an equal playing field for everybody. But I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, because I think it's better to celebrate it and make awareness of it. It's like it has to be about the talent and what's coming through that's good as well. So that's what I mean, like some of these nights that are on or gigs that are on that are just for females, it's like the people message us like, do you know any women that would want to play? And it's like, but you've not researched a band that you like, that you want to play your night. It's just anyone that is a woman. You know, like, so that I think it's really tricky.
Who did you look up to, and like what was your role model for you guys, like each? I'll start with you, Kyoko, for you to be like, I can do that. Does that make sense? Like,
okay. I always loved Susie Sue.
Ooh, girl.
Yeah, but she's super, super cool, you know, and when you read about, especially the punk era, about how women did have it really fucking hard, actually, do you know what I mean? But, you know, when you read about the experience that members of the Slits had and things like that, even in punk, which is supposed to be about, you know, forget all the rules before you can do anything, it was still really rigid. Like, you still, if you're a woman, you still had to struggle. It's like, that's not very punk to me. You know, I thought it doesn't embody the spirit of punk. But Susie really, she just didn't care. She was just this huge character and just expressed herself. And yeah, so I remember thinking she's cool.
And I always remember when we had this like moment we were on tour in an airport, and it was like a rock and roll cafe in the airport, and they had like all these icons, like pictures of them all around the top of the room. And I was looking around, and there was like probably 20, and there was the only one that was a woman was Madonna, and then all the others were like, you know, guys rocking out or singing or whatever. And I remember thinking like it's like always difficult to say what prevents women from maybe getting into music or rock music or performing, but that is like a really good subtle way of just seeing how it's so enforced daily that's what guys do.
That's what I'm saying, at the core. When I was younger, I felt the same way, like there wasn't really anybody to look up to, and anybody from that like Riot Girl movement, that was a little bit before my time, like they'd all split up and gone. So as much as I liked that music, it was like after the fact. So, you know, you could be inspired by it, but you couldn't be part of it. And then like Brodie Dahl came along, and that was like, she opened everything up for me, thinking, oh yeah, I could do that. And actually me and Lois both went to the same show, the same Distillers show, but we didn't know each other, and like that probably paved the way to becoming a person in a band and just seeing that it was possible. So it was good to have that, but yeah, there wasn't much else.
And was it not till you were a little bit older that you kind of, or when you saw Brodie, that you kind of went to ding and it was like a light bulb moment?
It's like the same. So there's Brodie, and for me there was like Courtney Love as well. As a young girl who was getting into rock music, that you don't really realise you're just listening to loads of guys play music. And I remember there was like another band, Cold Chamber, and there was a female bassist called Raina, who I was like, yeah, they're cool because there's one woman who's kind of cool playing the bass in that. But it's like sad to look back and think that was it, really. And it's like, even though there's people locally who are musicians, and I like was never discouraged from doing music or any, like, always encouraged positively to do music, in fact. But it's not like it wasn't common. And I think that is what we were talking about before, is like these, or like with the bar with the just Madonna and millions of guys.
Yeah.
Is like, it's not necessarily that you're not encouraged to have a career in music. It's that just subtly loads and loads of little factors that add up in your life about like what guys are supposed to do, what girls are supposed to do, whether it's well-intentioned or accidental or whatever from society, is it does sort of pave different futures for different genders.